My name is Sabita. I'm the psychotherapist in California. All right, I would like to kind of share some of the importances and what I think is beneficial as not only as a psychotherapist, but as a person who loves sports and believes in what throwball is all about. So we're going to talk about a little more about the throwball training and the cognitive function and its exploring some benefits. And most of you are already aware, but those who are you watching and wondering what I mean by what I'm saying, the connection between the throwball practice, vagus nerve and nervous system, and a cognitive function. And let's look into the science behind the throwball practice and the cognitive function. Of course, the research has shown that throwball practice can stimulate the vagus nerve. I repeatedly talk about the vagus nerve and how it is actually very much connected to the mind and body and neurotransmitters such as acetylcholine and dopamine, and which are crucial for cognitive function. And it has found, according to the research, the physical exercise, such as throwball, can promote neurogenesis, the growth of the new brain cells, and neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and change. So I'm going to pay attention more to take you guys into that direction of the neuroplasticity is what I'm really focused on, even including in psychology and psychotherapy. We are continue to understand what this means. How do you change your thoughts? How do you take from moving your thoughts to the practice of changing your behavior and attitude, as well as the throw ball, how it can help you do exactly the same with the neuroplasticity. And the importance of the cognitive function in the daily life. As we all know, the mental process that enable us to learn, think, reason, and the link between the throwball practice and the cognitive function. And there's so many studies that are more and more talking about it. Like I just mentioned in the previous slide, the activation of the vagus nerve, and it's important on the nervous system. That's the piece I would like to take a little more into the depth today. Improving the cognitive function can enhance learning. What does that mean? Problem solving, decision making, and overall mental well being. As much as it sounds very simple, problem solving and decision making, there is a process that's behind, and I would like to kind of talk about that as well today. When we engage in activities that challenge our cognitive function, such as playing sports, any type of sports, let alone throwball, our nervous system respond by releasing hormones that help that enhance our cognitive abilities. So, for example, the release of adrenaline during physical activity can help to improve our focus and attention, while the release of cortisol can help to improve the memory retention. I'm going to repeat this: improve our memory retention. The cognitive function, which is totally talking about the brain and the spinal cord and peripheral nervous system work together to process and store and to retrieve information, which allows us to perform wide range of cognitive tasks: learning, memory, attention, perception, and decision making. What I was talking earlier, the neurons, the primary cells of the nervous system, are the responsible for transmitting electrical and chemical signals in the brain. So, how is this really important? We'll talk more about it. Uh, and I'll be using other people's data as I was listening earlier in the sessions and yesterday sessions. That cognitive function, the nervous system is essential for cognitive function, which is impacted by various factors such as hormones that we just talked about. I'll go in depth as we move on to the other slides. The stress is a lot of us experience in daily life. Um, what kind of hormones does it release and how is it affecting in the brain system? And then physically, when somebody has any type of diseases, how is that affecting the nervous system as well? And how can we optimize and use these techniques to help us, such as hormones, that we'll be talking more in detail: cortisol, epinephrine, all kinds of other stuff. The nervous system is essential for cognitive function, I think, which we all agree. Which covers all type of mental processes related to knowledge and understanding, that comprehension, that processing. It comprises the brain, the spinal cord, and peripheral nervous system that I was just talking about a minute ago. When we are focusing on retrieving information, storing information, that's memory. Neurons are the primary cells responsible, right, for electrical and chemical. The brain is totally, such as the prefrontal cortex, that specialize in different cognitive functions. The prefrontal cortex that we all talk about all the time for decision making, and the hippocampus for memory. Hormones like cortisol, like epinephrine, like I just mentioned, also impact on the cognitive function by regulating the body's stress response. I'm going to just a little more focus on this piece. How does it affect and help reduce the stress levels in the body and affecting some of the specific regions of the brain? And the introduction to the vagus nerve that I'm constantly talking about. I'd like to, even though it's on the slide, kind of review and talk about this one more time. The vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve in the body. I'll share some pictures, and you can always Google and look it up for your own whenever you guys get a chance. Connecting the brain to many important organs, including the heart, lungs, and digestive system. And the function of the vagus nerve plays a vital role in regulating the body's autonomic nervous system, which controls many unconscious bodily functions such as heart rate, breathing, and digestion. How many of us really pay attention and be grateful, right? For the autonomic nervous system, what it does every single day, tirelessly, never complains like we complain, right? Beating the heart. It does it on its own, and breathing and digestion. Those just few. Stimulating the vagus nerve can improve mood, reduce anxiety and stress, and enhance cognitive function. Not only the research is showing this, but I personally experienced on my own. Throwball is an increasingly seems like a popular sport that can have many health benefits, and it has been found to have a positive impact on body's vagus nerve, which is responsible again for the controlling, remember, heart rate, breathing, and digestion. That's just a few. And the throw ball can probably definitely can increase one's focus and mental clarity while reducing stress levels and improving overall well-being. I'll show you the little screen of this picture of vagus nerve. Um, how daily exercises to rewire your brain. So this is a just a quick picture that's showing, of course, the heart and the digestion system, and then the nervous system. And I'll take you. This particular diagram is available on Amazon if somebody wants to really use it or buy it. Just looking at the ball, imagine you holding in your hand and letting it go as you move your other hand to throw the ball. Keeping your eyes looking at the screen, keep your eyes on the ball. Just imagine looking at it as if you're actually throwing the ball. That attention, that decision making skill, how far, how much, what's the strength in your arms to use, all that's happening so fast. And that is part of the vagus nerve system and the prefrontal cortex. Now, connection between the practicing throw ball and activation of the vagus nerve. As I was mentioning about the vagus nerve, let's go a little more into the nervous system called parasympathetic nervous system, and there's also sympathetic nervous system. The crucial part, which is important with the heart rate, digestion, and respiratory rate. The vagus nerve also plays an essential role in the body's relaxation response. That's the piece I was talking earlier about, focusing on I hope you guys all remember the body's relaxation does go with the focusing on decision making, but the impulse control, the controlling system. So the evidence suggests that practicing throw ball can activate the vagus nerve. That's the beautiful piece I would like all of you to take with you today. And those of you who are listening, remember to practice. And this vagus nerve that we're going to go into a little more in depth in next several slides, the health benefits including the stress reduction. All of us are very familiar with the stress reduction, how it can help us to be more successful, more focused. Activation of the vagus nerve to reduce the levels by promoting the relaxation and reducing the activity of the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is the fight and flight response that when we are angry, we get there, activates the sympathetic nervous system. And those of you who are very much aware to survival mode, that's what we call ourselves, that is also part of sympathetic nervous system. It's okay to be in that mode for moments. We are all humans and we are all animals and reptile brain, where we do have this ability to not only save ourselves. Those of you who are especially parents can relate to what I'm saying. That instant activation when a child is touching something, when the child is in a risky position, or we ourselves in a risky position, we automatically use our survival mode to protect ourselves and protect those around us. So it's not all bad to be in a sympathetic nervous system. What it is not to stay long in that mode. When you stay longer in that mode, you do activate that stress area where you will not be able to focus, where you will get into that anxiety and get upset or shut down. So, those are the effects of the sympathetic nervous system. And let's look at the positive sides, like I was just talking about. Yes, it does help using relaxation techniques to bring the sympathetic nervous system to go into parasympathetic nervous system, which can improve our heart health. And like I said, the digestion. A lot of us have a lot of dietary restrictions, what we can eat, what we cannot eat. Europe especially, right, they call that gut brain. Slowly the Western medical field and the others are following and understanding, but the Eastern population, like such as in India, talked about this for thousands of years. The gut brain and the digestion and Ayurvedic and all kinds of things. The immune function, how it can help with the vagus nerve. And there are studies shown. I am a relationship specialist and a trauma specialist. We use this in the system and proven mechanism, something called vagal tone, and that is related to the vagus nerve. When you focus on improving your vagal tone through the breath work and relaxation techniques, even in the relationships, you'll be able to talk to your partners, your children, your parents much more politely and much more patiently. And that's the beauty of focusing on parasympathetic nervous system and practicing throwball and how it is able to activate the nervous system using and touching and feeling and focusing and making those decisions, and the helping our nervous system from sympathetic nervous system to parasympathetic. And the more we practice taking it to sympathetic to parasympathetic, the vagal tone improves and various bodily functions. And I love this slide. Please pay attention. Hope some of you can really see what I was talking about, how it's connected from top to most of our body. It's all through, but this is the vagus nerve, the movement of walking, sprints, and lifting weights. And sometimes, and as we are all aware, the massage feels good in our body and it gives us relaxation. And that is true. And that's because of this. And cold exposure is healthy as well, especially when people are in that zone of angry, upset, dysregulation, the term that I used earlier. It's really good idea to, with the cold exposure, um, irritability, angry, washing your face with cold water, rinsing and splashing, or just drinking some cold water would help the body. And there are studies in a CBT and a DBT, especially, and mindfulness that I use quite a bit to help clients process their trauma and emotions. Washing your face with cold water or drinking cold water and just taking a breath would help the vagus nerve. Sometimes in our society, especially most of the societies in most of the religions, they practice singing, chanting especially, and that's also part of activating the vagus nerve. And when you're happier, you could definitely activate it sometimes, like such as gargling and laughing. In Ayurvedic, they talk about bitter compounds in food, how that is important, and why we do eat certain things like bitter melon, for example, how it does activate vagus nerve. And meditation, there's no doubt, more and more studies are talking about it, and proven method for meditation and deep breath, the belly breath, that I teach my little kids how to do a deep belly breaths and how important it is to do a belly breath when they get upset. So, this is the stimulation of the vagus nerve and psychology, how it impacts our mind and body. And this, thanks to this beautiful nervous system that we all have, and it's free, it's no money. So, let's all look into this throwball practice and the vagus nerve one more time with the research findings, the benefits. The nerve is the longest cranial nerve in the body, as you just seen it in that other slide, and how we just described the sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system, which includes the heart rate, digestion, breathing, let alone that focusing on regulation and dysregulation and how it affects. And the research findings, studies suggest that aerobic exercises like throwball can stimulate the vagus nerve. This is the piece Dr. Kondle was actually talking earlier in his session, how people who cannot really stand up, and that's okay, such as these, moving the ball, using the ball, sitting where you are, tossing to one another, or sometimes just tossing to the wall. And I've seen some from Sampurna's videos and other throw ball, how people are able to use it and how they're actually stimulating the vagus nerve. They probably don't know that's what they're doing, but that is helping them increase the parasympathetic activity, which is that helps with the reduced stress in body and mind and improved cognitive functions that we talked earlier in the previous slides. The sadness and the depression, when we go into that dorsal of the nervous system, that's little bit is good. Meditation and all that can take you, but that's more of relaxation, not a depression. There is a huge difference between relaxing the body and mind versus depression. And when you increase your vagus nerve through the physical exercise such as throw ball, like I said, the emotional well-being is very important, and it does reduce the anxiety, and it does reduce the depression, and it overall improves the quality of life. And regular practice of improvement can lead to increased confidence and self belief, a sense of achievement and accomplishment to that's one own self, not just in a team. However, I will touch on how it helps in that social interaction, doing in a team sport. When you include more than one person in a social interaction with other players, that can be beneficial for psychological well-being by providing sense of belonging. When you create your sense of belonging and support. That does help regulate our system, and that is important to have a social interaction. And goal setting is another piece. When you're playing the throw ball, setting goals, working towards those goals can be very effective way to build motivation, determination, and sense of purpose. Again, these are some things that we are all aware, but it's important to bring it to our prefrontal cortex, that attention and focus, to remind ourselves not just playing throw ball just to play it as an activity, but it has other benefits. And not only it relieves that stress relief, what does it do? Improves our mood, decrease our anxiety, decrease our frustration, releasing tension. All these are important pieces of the stress relief. And like I talked about the self-esteem, confidence, just not in yourself but to others and those around you, and the social interaction, playing this throw ball in a team environment, the motivation, the determination, and sense of purpose is the key piece. I'm repeating some of these so it can resonate, and hopefully you'll connect it even after I finish today. What does that mean in a simple terms that we do in a daily practice? But we don't pay attention. And I'll bring up a gratitude when we acknowledge when we are playing what it gave us, that sense of purpose or determination or motivation. When we tap into ourselves to tell ourselves, thanking ourselves, letting our body do that, that will expand our not only heart but in the brain. And the mindfulness, they talk about it a quite a bit in this society recently and the worldwide. And that's what that means. The positive mood, the throw ball can is very important. When you're playing, it releases endorphins, and which are natural mood boosters. And we all try to do that. A lot of people go to gym for the same reason, or play any other sports for the same reason. And that's the same reason I encourage playing throw ball, and how it actually is a natural mood booster because it does release that endorphins. It can promote feelings of pleasure and well-being and leading to a positive mood. When you're in a positive mood, you feel happy. You see things around you in a more positive perspective. And now, the endorphins can promote feeling of pleasure, I said, right? Let's stay with that notion, and let's see what else it can do for us. Improved focus and concentration, right? Focus and concentration, as we learned throughout our session today with our slides, that cognitive function can lead to better performance in other areas such as life and work and school. So I repeat, such as just life in general, no matter what your age is, and work and school. Overall, practicing throwball can be fun, an effective way to improve your mental and physical well-being. Moreover, practicing like throw ball can stimulate the brain areas involved in cognitive functions such as prefrontal cortex, hippocampus, and cerebellum. So overall, it's a great thing to do and continue to do and have fun. All of you, and thank you so much for the opportunity. And thanks to my husband, Dr. Kondle, for giving me extra time for me to express all my feelings and emotions, and the beautiful experience through Sampurna, and watching all of you. That's an inspiration. And again, that's very stimulating and motivating for me. And I will be using, and I started using with my clients, and they're already telling me they're feeling good. And we'll work on how to get those balls to some of our clients in the United States using the Amazon link later on. So overall, guys, thank you so much, and I appreciate it. That being said, I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Any questions, I'll be more than happy to take.